Hello everyone, we're back and it's wrecking time. But this time we're going to wreck our brains with a little bit of knowledge. So as you can see here, I'm on wikipedia.org, the English site, because I don't speak very many languages, as in none. So today we're going to be talking about chivalry. So this is going to be what Wikipedia calls chivalry, and obviously it's not the only source. You can look all over the place. I'll let you do your own research. But this is where I go, where I find Wikipedia is correct probably about 90-ish% of the time. It's not 100%, but we'll just go with this for today. So it says chivalry, or the chivalric language, is an informal and varying code of conduct that developed in Europe between 1170 and 1220. Now, that's not BC. That's going to be, well, when I was going through school, it was called AD. I guess they're calling it the Common Era nowadays. Anyway, it is associated with the medieval Christian institution of knighthood, with knights being members of various chivalric orders, and the knights and gentlemen's behaviors, which were governed by chivalrous social codes. The ideals of chivalry were popularized in medieval literature, particularly the literary cycles known as the Matter of France, relating to the legendary companions of Charlemagne and his men-at-arms, the Paladins, and the Matter of Britain, informed by Geoffrey of Monmouth's Historia Regum Britanniae, written in the 1130s, which popularized the legend of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. The code of chivalry that developed in medieval Europe has its roots in earlier centuries. It arose in the Carolingian Empire from the idealization of the cavalryman, involving military, bravery, individual training, and service to others, especially in Francia, among horse soldiers in Charlemagne's cavalry. Over time, the meaning of chivalry in Europe has been refined to emphasize more general social and moral values. The code of chivalry, as it stood by the late Middle Ages, was a moral system which combined a warrior ethos, knightly piety, and courtly manners, all combining to establish a notion of honor and nobility. Now, you've probably heard a man shall not strike a woman. Well, where it says nobility there, your average stoolie at the bar probably wasn't a nobleman. So that's, you know, it's a lot of like what you see today with like pop stars and people copying people they idolize. You know, it's a lot of that, the poor pretending they're nobility. So just kind of throwing that little tidbit in there. So what are the chivalric codes? Well, we're going to move down here and we're going to read this, what's called the 10 Commandments of Chivalry. Now, we're going to give you a little caveat, a little bit of a warning before we go into it. It says, pioneering French literary historian Léon Gautier compiled what he called the medieval 10 Commandments of Chivalry in his book La Chivalry in 1884. Okay? So, and before we read them, we're going to come down here and it says, in fact, there is no such medieval list. Gautier's effort was a series of moral bullet points he abstracted from his broad reading of 12th and 13th century romances. Okay? So basically, there is no specific, according to this, written chivalric code. Okay? So let's see what it says. Number 1. Thou shalt believe all that the church teaches, and thou shalt observe all its directions. Now, obviously, you're probably not going to be an atheist or an agnostic if you want to say that you're going to practice chivalry. Again, this is a bullet point. It's not a rule. And it comes from Romance literature. So, do with you what you will with that. Anyway, it does say, basically believe what the church tells you. Now, of course, if you read the Bible will tell that there are some people that teach the word and those who don't. So, I would assume you would want to check your church to make sure they are actually teaching, and like I said, Christian, so actually teaching the Word of God. So what's bullet point number 2? Thou shalt defend the church. So now it doesn't get very specific here, but you probably don't want the church to get attacked by a military. You probably don't even want it to get attacked maybe publicly either. So you'll probably defend your church. That's fine. If you're a holy man, that's probably something you'll do naturally. Okay? Bullet point number 3. Thou shalt respect all weaknesses and shalt constitute thyself the defender of them. Now, I know this as defend the weak. We've probably heard that before. Now, you will notice as defend the weak, it does not say become the weak. You cannot defend them if you cannot defend yourself. But it does say thou shalt respect all weaknesses. Okay? So, ladies, for all you ladies out there saying a man should practice chivalry, who needs it? The weak need chivalry. It doesn't say respect all strong. Take a minute to let that sink in. It's not for the strong, it's for the weak. Okay? So, if you want chivalry, you got to admit that you're weak. Whether you like it or you don't. Again, it's a bullet point. Don't get all mad about it. I didn't write them. I'm just talking about it. Okay. So number 4. Thou shalt love the country in which thou wast born. Today we call that patriotism. But, if you don't love your country you were born in, that's where your home and family originally was. If you don't love your home and family, what good are you? Right? It's well proven, I guess, through sciences of some kind, probably anthropology, that a man who loves his home and family will fight harder to defend them than, say, a man who doesn't have a home and family, right? So that's not really a big brain thing right there. Number 5, thou shalt not recoil before thine enemy. Don't run like a little scaredy girl or a scaredy cat. How about we go with that? Basically, face your enemy, stand and fight. I'm reminded of the movie 300. The Persians are coming. We gotta retreat. Or they'll kill us. And well, that's an easy choice for us, Acadian. Spartans never surrender. Spartans never retreat. So thou shalt not recoil before thy enemy. Do not run away from your enemy. Stand your ground. This is kind of a basic military thing too. Okay, number 6. Thou shalt make war against the infidel without cessation and without mercy. Now, infidel would probably be by your church. So, if you're following the Christian faith, those who probably do the opposite of the 10 Commandments. And it does say without mercy. That means it's probably not going to be nice stuff. Okay? Number 7. Thou shalt perform scrupulously thy feudal duties, if they be not contrary to the laws of God. The laws of God are, for the most part, the 10 Commandments. You also had your statutes. You had your rituals, the blood rituals and all that. So basically, serve your Lord as long as your Lord doesn't go against God. The church is more important than the state in chivalry, if you're not figuring that out. Also, back to number 6, the whole make war against the infidel. You might remember this thing called the Spanish Inquisition, so it doesn't have the best reputation about it, but that's probably where that came from, maybe, Okay, bullet point number 8. Thou shalt never lie, and shalt remain faithful to thy pledged word. Ladies, and I'm talking to you, my fellow American ones here. Thou shalt never lie, and shalt remain faithful to thy pledged word. Now, we're not doing the gentleman's code today, but I know from my own research in the Gentleman's Code, or at least what I was taught as a young lad, and we haven't been young for a long time, but as a young lad, never break your word, of course. Your word is your bond. And take no action that brings shame or disgrace to your name or reputation. When you get married, the vows of marriage are a promise. A promise is giving your word. Okay? If you vow to be with this man for richer or poorer, you're expected to stick it out. You gave your father's name, you'd stay with him. And if you break up with him, if you file the divorce, not him, then you have broken your word. And back in the old days, back in these times, if a woman divorced her husband, and don't let those feminists fool you and say a woman couldn't do it, because it was a thing, at least as far as I know. I'm not a historian, so don't believe everything I say. But if a woman brought shame to her father's name and reputation, do you think he welcomed her back in? No. Where would she wind up? She wouldn't be living with her husband, because she'd be divorced, and she wouldn't live with her father, because she brought shame to the family name. So she'd be on the streets. And what happens to women on the streets in the Middle Ages? Not good stuff, right? Jack the Ripper and stuff. I mean, that's not Middle Ages, but you get the idea. Okay? So, where do you think alimony comes from? You see, a woman would be a shame and a disgrace if she had divorced her husband, brought shame to the name and reputation of either her husband, her father, or both, and she'd be out on the streets. And if you're a king or a duke or whatever, and you can't protect your own citizens, you're not supposed to look weak, right? You're supposed to defend the weak. You're not supposed to look weak. You're not supposed to be weak. So, a woman who can't defend herself in the streets is weak. So there's that chivalry. Alimony gets you a roof over your head and food on your table and clothes on your back. The second purpose of alimony is it makes the man look like a better bachelor. Because women back then, we were smaller communities, women back then would be, well, he's single again. He's looking for another wife. And not only is he ready to take care of another wife and children, he's taking care of that one over there. He's got money. It makes him look more financially attractive. So it has two purposes. One is shame the woman, because the women would know where her money was coming from. Right? They'd be at the market. They'd have their kids with them. Don't be like her. Her word doesn't mean anything. So ladies, if you're a divorced woman and men aren't marrying you, well, you can blame chivalry for that. Chivalry says, don't marry a liar. Don't be with a liar. Don't be a liar. Okay? Name and reputation. Like it says, take no action that brings shame or disgrace to your name or reputation, for it's your most important currency. It can open doors for you or slam them in your face. So, I wanted to spend a lot of time on that, because that's something I got fed when I was a kid. Okay, number 9. Thou shalt be generous and give largesse to everyone. I don't know what the hell largesse is, and I'm too lazy to look it up, so you can do that on your own. I assume it means just be generous. I mean, don't be some Ebenezer Scrooge, and it doesn't mean be stupid with your money either. Okay, all right. For me, I can't say that I follow this one too much, because I'll see the people at, like if I'm at Walmart or something, I'll see the guy sitting on the curb. Can you help a guy out? And I'm like, I was homeless and unemployed in 1996. I didn't do that. So, also I worked at a group home at one point in my career, and I was covering for someone else, and I worked at this place, and I don't know the guy's name, but I remember he was coming down the hallway, and he had his head kind of leaned up against the wall, and he was kind of knocking on the wall as he went. And anyway, I didn't know what was going on, And anyway, the guy I was working with, the guy that worked there normally, He kind of explained to me that guy was blind, deaf, and mute. So basically, the only way you could communicate with him was doing the deaf and dumb sign language in the palm of his hand, and that's how he communicate back with you. And that guy held a job. Okay, if he can work, you can work. Okay, so I'm not, and that's how I do my life. If that guy can work, I can work. So it doesn't mean I can't hope for early retirement, though. So so if someone tells you they can't work, say, hey, there's a blind, deaf, mute guy working. What's your excuse? Okay, so basically, be generous, but don't be stupid with your money. Anyway, and number 10, thou shalt be everywhere and always the champion of the right and the good against injustice and evil. And that's probably defined by your church and your state. So basically, don't break the commandments and don't break the law. Okay, that's probably the definition of injustice and evil. Now, again, like we've already pointed out, these are bullet points that he pulled from 12th and 13th century literary romances. Okay, so who knows how accurate these are? Maybe someday we'll get time machines, we can go back and actually check it out. But so that's chivalry for you, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know what you think about it. And like I said, there's nothing there about pulling out chairs. There's nothing there about throwing your coat in the mud. There's nothing there about opening doors. Now, maybe if they're too weak to open a door or pull out their chair, sure, right? It says respect all weakness. And respect would be helping them, right? Respect isn't like doing everything for them, but, you could help. So, yeah. But, so there's some takeaways for you. I hope you guys liked the video. And, maybe we'll cover some other things. Maybe the gentleman's code. Maybe I'll see if I can find, maybe if there's more of a specific knight's code, maybe I'll see what I can find. Yeah, we'll see. I'll kind of see how this video does this week, and we'll just go from there. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys next time.